But when Moshe passed away, all of them disappeared. Like it says in the Zechariah, "Ve'akchid et shloshet haroim beyom echad." I would kill, decimate the three leaders in one day. How in one day? We know that Aaron passed away in Chodesh Av, and Moshe in Adar. And Miriam, it says she passed away in Nisan. So how could you say that all passed away in one day? So their presence that the Jewish people got, because of them, they all were cancelled in one day. That's what I understand. So the way of the influence of these people on the Jewish people, right? We can see that they all dealt with in a different field, in a different dimension. Moshe Rabbeinu dealt with Torah, which is the most important thing. It's like bread, that without bread people cannot live, they cannot survive, right? So, because of this, we got the Mary to have the man. Aaron was chosen to serve Hashem in the Holy Temple. And because he brought the Shekhinah, because of him, we had this cloud. And Miriam, where does it say exactly what did Miriam do? Since when she was a leader, Miriam? So it mentions that when the miracle of the Yam Suf happened, she was dancing, she was leading the dancing and the songs that the women sang, in Yam Suf, right? But we also know that she was the Meyaledet. She was helping to Jewish women to give birth. She was next to her mom and she was helping them. And we know also that she taught her father a big lesson. Her father was Gadol Ador, and he wanted to divorce his wife, and she told him, no, you shouldn't do that, because, that's not what Hashem asked you to do. But she made a lot of gemilut chesed. And because of her, the Jewish nation had the merit to get the well. So this thing teaches us that the whole world is standing on Torah, which was Moshe Rabbeinu, עבודה שבלב זוהי תפילה, ואהרון הכהן, ועבודה בבית המקדש, and Miriam, which is גמילות חסדים. And he says that what's important about Miriam, says Rabbi Shidon, is that she did it בצנעה. She didn't make big lines from this. When you make Gemilut Chesed, it says you don't make big lines. You don't say, oh, I helped you, and now whatever. We know that Rachel did a Chesed, right? If she would declare, I'm doing a Chesed, what kind of Chesed would it be? You don't need such a Chesed. So he says that when you learn Torah, you need a rabbi, you need a student, you need advertisement, because people need to know to go to shiur, you need advertising, you need knowledge. When you have kahuna, Aaron HaKohen, so he has special clothing, there's certain laws, this, that. But Gemilut Chasadit, you have to do in modesty. And this is what Rav says over here. Rav Nisim again was a big Nezakeh Rabim. He wrote a book, and in his book he says that whenever he used to go to big tzaddikim, they would welcome him in a special way, because he doesn't keep the Torah to himself. He goes from town to town, from place to place, and a lot of you knew him. He used to come a lot over here and teach people and make them, see the light of Torah, see the light and make them close to Hashem. So he gives an example, a story about there was two rabbis that had to go to England. So he asked them, maybe they can make him a favor and take some cassettes to England and to give it out over there in the shuls, lezakot et Harabim. So they took it, and they forgot all about it. They were there for some time that they needed, and on their last day that they're supposed to pack all their stuff and go back to Israel, they all of a sudden remembered it. So they come next to the shul. There was this guy standing there. They give it to him and start telling him, just take it and put it in the shul, we have to go. This guy was a young guy that a while ago left Israel and lived in London with his wife. They lived with each other for some time, but then they had all kind of problems, didn't agree with each other. He became more religious, she didn't care about religion. They wanted to separate. Last night, the night before the story, right? It's her last day that she's with him. And she started having doubts. Is it good that I'm separating from my husband? The children will suffer, and maybe it's not a good. So she starts to talk to Hashem. She says, Hashem, if you're there, give me a sign that what I'm doing, is it good or not? I want a sign from you. So all of a sudden she took her husband's teilim. She started to pray. She never prayed before. She never cared about religion before. Really, she didn't. And this is how she fell asleep. The next day, her husband comes home and he brings a pack of cassettes from the rabbi. And she's like, what's that? And he's afraid because anything with religion, you know? And he says, no, somebody asked me to deliver it to shul. I have to take it there. I didn't have a chance to. Just, can I see it? And she takes one cassette and she listens. And she hears. And all of a sudden, it's so interesting. She says to her, maybe this is the sign that I was looking for. And she doesn't stop over there. She takes another cassette, and she listens, and her husband with her, and another cassette. It was so interesting. She keeps hearing again and again. This is when he says they decided not to separate, they decided to get some guidance, they decided to... This is the zchut of Zikuy Harabim. There was the old woman that used to live in Jerusalem, and I told this story a few times to you. She used to go in the old street of Jerusalem wearing this long apron, having two deep pockets in this apron. One pocket, she would collect all the shemes that she will see in the street, you know, so they won't go around not respected way. And one pocket, she would collect peels of bananas that people threw, so so that people won't stumble and fall from them, all kind of pieces of glass and stuff like that can hurt people. She used to do it for many years, and she lived. She was very old when she passed away. Before she passes away, she asked to write in her will that she wants to be buried with this apron. And after a few days, she came in a dream to one of the rabbis in Yerushalayim, and she tells him, I want to tell you that in heaven they were waiting my mitzvot and my sins, okay? And they took this apron, and what do you think was more important? The fact that I collected shemes, holy books, holy papers that shouldn't wander from place to place, or the fact that I collected peels of bananas so that people will not fall. The pocket that collected the peels of the bananas and all this dirt from the sea so people won't fall, this was what made her go to heaven without a problem. This is Zikuy, Harabim, caring for, so people won't make a mistake. So, it's a tzivui from the Torah. I read this story from different sources. This Rabbi Yosef was going on a plane to America once. Next to him sat a man in his 60s or 70s that was not religious. Not only that he was not religious, he was against religion. He was a Jewish person, but against religion. He sees that he's ordering non-kosher food, and he tells him, oh, maybe at least one flight you can avoid this, why is it so important for you to eat non-kosher? You know that it's important, and start giving him a lecture, blah, 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 blah. He said, hello, I don't care about religion, and I don't care about anything. I was in the Holocaust, and you know what happened to me? my Itzikel, my son, was killed in front of me. Where was God in the Holocaust? Famous question. So of course we cannot judge these people, and he couldn't tell him anything. He felt his pain, so he didn't say anything. He kept quiet. Many months later, he comes to Israel, this Rabbi Yosef, to be in the the high holidays in Israel. He was in Shchonat Katamon in Jerusalem, and he's in the whole day, Yom Kippur, he is praying in a synagogue, and he gets out just for, there was this intermission, before they start, the Ashkenazis, they say Yizkor, special tefillah for all people who died, right? They make a special tefillah. He comes out for a second outside to breathe some fresh air, and he sees a man sitting on a bench, a very old man, smoking a cigarette. Yom Kippur, smoking a cigarette? He comes to him, he wants to talk to him. He sees it's that guy from the airplane. His name was Robert. So he tells him, Robert, how are you? You remember me? We were sitting on a plane. He says, sure, yes, of course. He tells him, you know, today is Yom Kippur. Maybe you don't need to smoke this. He tells him, listen, I don't care about Yom Kippur. My son Itzikel died in front of me in the Zeh, and I don't care about anything. He tells him, you know, if you keep reminding about your son constantly and he's in your mind all the time, maybe you do something good for him. Right now in the shul, they will start saying a special tefillah of his call for all these people who died. Right? Maybe you say a tefillah for him, and you will elevate his neshama in the Olam HaElyon instead of sitting like that. So he said, okay. And he threw his cigarette and started to go to shul. So this Rabbi Yosef goes quickly to the Chazan and tells him, there's this man here. For 50 years he was not in the synagogue. And he comes to pray for his only son that died in the Holocaust. Please make the tefillah of his call, make it something special, with very touching, so that, it will shake him a bit. He says, fine. He starts praying, and then he comes to the name. He says, what's the name? He says, Yitzchak ben Reuven. Yitzchak ben Reuven, he looks at him. Okay, he continues praying. Once he finished praying, the Chazan comes to him and he tells him, Itzkovich? He tells him, yes, Itzkovich. He looks at him, and after a few seconds he screams, Abba! What happened? So the Nazis were hurting him. He got some bullets, but he managed to run away, and the father never saw him afterwards, didn't know that he was alive. See how a small little Zikuy that he was trying to do connected, because זה כתוב, והשיב לב על לב אבות על בנים, ולב בנים על אבות, connected father and son. They didn't see each other for years, didn't know that. And of course the father, was not so afterwards, anti-religion and angry and all this. Of course they would talk and this. So another example, another story from Rav Zilberstein. One night, two policemen come to a very important Talmid Chacham in Israel and take him to jail. Hello? What did I do? Did I do anything wrong? No, we don't care. We don't ask questions. We just have to take you to jail. He took them to a jail. They took him to a jail in Ashkelon, South Israel. And he stays there. He doesn't even know why he's there. So next to him was sitting another man. And he asks him, why are you here? So the man tells him, oh, I beat my
his wife?
Huh?
His wife?
Not his wife, the one that I'm engaged to. Excuse me, why did you do that? He tells him. He tells him, well, I have a brother. I had a brother that passed away, and he had one little son. And this little son, I'm so much fond of him because he has the same name of my father. And now that my brother passed away, I want to raise him. So I offered the widow if I could marry her and raise this child. And she says, okay, so soon we're going to marry. So why did you hit her? Because she hit this boy, and I told her you shouldn't do that, and I started hitting her too. The rabbi heard this, and he got shocked. He tells him, you know, this widow has a son. You're not allowed by Torah law to get married to her. He says, yeah, but there's a mitzvah yibum. Yibum, he says, if your brother passed away, don't have children, this is when you marry to the wife of your brother to have children. But if she has already a child, you're not allowed to marry to your brother's wife. It's correct. It's not allowed. He tells him, it's a chumrah, it's not important, it's not true, people told me different, this and that. And he keeps explaining him and explaining the whole night. He sits and explains and tells him that it's not right, it's not good, and he tells him, no, I know a rabbi that is willing to do it, obviously a former rabbi that is willing to marry him off to this lady. And he continues influencing him so he won't do that until he agreed, okay, I won't marry her, he tells him. So the rabbi takes his number, he tells him, if you have any question, take my number, call me, let's be in touch, this, that. He says, fine. At that second, as they exchange phone numbers, the policemen come and start apologizing. We're sorry, Rabbi, we meant somebody else. It's not you, you're not supposed to be. We're sorry, and start apologizing, you know. And he's like, it's okay, don't worry, I know exactly why I was here, don't worry, don't worry. And he went home, he made sure that he, keeps his promise and he's not going to marry her. And there's so much stories of Hashgacha Pratit, of people who cared for other people, and Hashem made sure that takala lo tavo al adam, that they won't make any problem, chas v'shalom. Okay, there's a lot of stories, okay? Let's stop here, some of the stories. I want to mention another thing. Elkanah. Who was Elkanah? Hannah's husband, father of Shmuel HaNavi. Elkanah, what was so special about Elkanah? It says that 4 times a year you will go to the Mishkan. Okay? 3 times because it says so. 4th time that he took upon himself to do. And what he used to do, it says, Ve'alah ha'isha hu mi'iro miyamim yamima. Constantly used to go to the holy temple, to the Mishkan. Why he used to do that? Whenever he used to go to the Mishkan, he used to go with all his relatives. His wife, his children, his brothers, his sisters, his in-laws, his this, his that. A whole big community would go together up with him. And on the way, they would sleep in the road. And people would gather next to them and ask them, what are you doing? And they would explain, we go to the Holy Temple, we go to be there. So, it says, men used to speak with men, women used to speak with women, older kids with older kids, younger kids with younger kids. Everybody would associate with their ages, and talk about this and explain this and tell them how important it is to go to the Holy Temple, to get spiritually energized over there, to be next to the Kohen, next to Eliah Kohen, and so on. So, one year we would influence another 5 families to go with him. Another year he would influence on another 10 families, 60 families. This is how you would make people to go. It was like forgotten over there in Shiloh, this Mishkan. He made all of them go there with him. Now, he wouldn't go the same way every year. Every year he would take a different path. He would go through a different town, a different place, to make these people also, know that he is going there, if maybe they would come gather together with them, join them and stuff like that. It says, Elkanah הכריע את ישראל לכף זכות, and educated them to do mitzvot, וזכו רבים על ידו. A lot of people had the merit to come closer, to make it so because of him. said הקדוש ברוך הוא אלקנה, אתה הכרעת את ישראל לכף זכות וחינכתם במצוות, וזכות הרבים על ידך, אני מוציא לך בן, I will give you a son, שיכריע את ישראל לכף זכות, but it will also teach them and educate them. And we know that Shmuel went from place to place, from town to town. He didn't sit in one place and make people come to him. He went from place to teach them Torah, to give them the knowledge of Hashem. And it says, שהיה שקול, Shmuel was equal to Moshe and Aaron. Moshe, we know how Moshe was important. Aaron, we know how. Shmuel is like Moshe and Aaron. And שנאמר, משה ואהרון בכהניו ושמואל בפרעי שוב. That's how important the merit of Zikuy Harabim. As we get closer to Shavuot, we know that the students of Rabbi Akiva, they died between Pesach and the day of Lag BaOmer. This decree had finished. Lag BaOmer. We mentioned last time what is Lev Tov, how important it is to have a good heart, to care about others. It says there are 48 kinyanim, things that we learn, that we own the Torah, and the number 32 is Le'ehov et habriot, to love other people. I mentioned to you in the past that Moshe Rabbeinu was the leader of Am Yisrael, Torah shebichtav. He gave us the Torah shebichtav. And it says that as he goes to heaven to accept the Torah, he sees that many, many generations later will come Rabbi Akiva, right? That will write tilim shel halachot al kol kotz vekotz b'Torah. Hashem, there are some letters that there is some kind of design on top of them, and Hashem makes these designs. And Rabbi Akiva, Moshe Rabbeinu is asking, why do you do this? He says, because later on will come this Rabbi Akiva that will have so much commentaries on each design on each thing that I do on these letters. Rabbi Akiva was the leader of Torah Sheba'al Peh. He is the one that taught us that all this Gemara that we have is on behalf of his name. We know that 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva died, right? And then he decided that he takes another 5 students and he teaches them the Torah. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi whatever. All these 5 students, some say 7 students. They say, Stam Mishnah, whatever it says, Stam Mishnah, Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir told us, if it just says, that's his student. Stam Tosefta, whoever the one that wrote the Tosefta, Rabbi Nehemiah. Stam Safra, Rabbi Yehuda. Stam Sifri, Rabbi Shimon. Vekolhu aliba de Rabbi Akiva. All what we got in the Torah Sheba'al Peh, is a call in the merit of Rabbi Akiva. How important it is to not to keep the Torah to yourself, but to teach it to other people. I want to thank Mazal for opening her house and be mezakeh harabim and teach other people, make sure that they come to shiurim and they're learning and how important it is and how the zchut of this is so strong. You have any questions to ask about this topic?
Sometimes it's not so easy to be Mizakeh Rabim. Sometimes you just can't, like, you're not so knowledgeable. Like, you want to help, but, like, I don't know what to say, like, with your question.
Many times, the fact that they see you, how you conduct yourself, it's already enough. there was these two guys that they came to ask Rav Kanievsky that lives in Bnei Brak. They came to ask him a question, to do this